So welcome to ECTEL Bytes, a production of the Eastern Caribbean Telecommunications Authority. I'm your host, Coretta Crooks-Charles, ECTEL's Communications and Media Relations Manager. And just in case it's your first time watching and you missed the first episode, let me just quickly point out that ECTEL is the regulatory body for telecommunications in its 5 member states, namely the Commonwealth of Dominica, Grenada, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. ECTEL is made up of 3 components: a Council of Ministers, a Regional Directorate, and a National Telecommunications Regulatory Commission, or the NTRC, in each member state. On episode 2, we had a representative from the NTRC in St. Lucia, and today our special guest is a representative from the NTRC in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Ms. Rhea Lewis, the Consumer and Public Relations Manager. The last couple of months have been exceedingly challenging due to the COVID-19 pandemic. However, our brothers and sisters of St. Vincent and the Grenadines had to also contend with the eruption of the Soufrière volcano in April 2021. In spite of it all, our stakeholder, the National Telecommunications Regulatory Commission in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, has been resilient and continue to work assiduously to create opportunities in information and communications technology, or ICT, for their citizens. So with that being said, let's welcome Ms. Lewis to ECTEL Bytes. Welcome, Ms. Lewis.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Carito. As previously introduced, my name is Rhea Lewis. I am the Consumer and Public Relations Manager of the NTRC SPG. I would go back to you now.
Okay, thanks. And thanks so much for pointing out the technical issue at the beginning. Appreciate that. Okay, so let's jump into it because we have a lot to talk about. So tell us a bit about the NTRC St. Vincent and the Grenadines. How many staff do you have on hand? And what functions are carried out by the NTRC as it relates to electronic communications?
Okay, so we have about 13 staff members. These are permanent staff members, with the exception of maybe 2 interns. We normally hire interns each year. So those would come from the community college, but they have not started their rotation as yet, as you could say. In terms of the electronic communications and telecommunications aspect, well, electronic communication is a bit of a broad term. So we focus more on telecommunications. So what we do is mainly issue licenses to telecommunication providers. So these would include Digicel, Flow, when we had Carib Cable, Direct TV. We also issue licenses to radio stations, and we control the frequencies that they operate on. So in order for a radio station to operate, then they have to apply for a license. They have to have a frequency that is unique to them for them to broadcast their programs on. We are responsible for that as well. We also do a bit of different things like assigning the prefixes to telephone numbers. So in St. Vincent, it's the area code, which is 784, and then you have 457, 456, that we also assign those prefixes. We have some other, some other things that we do as well, but I guess we would get into that later on in the show, but that's mainly what we are responsible for at the NTRC here in St. Vincent.
Okay, thanks, Ms. Lewis. So how long have you served as the Consumer and Public Relations Manager at the NTRC, and how has that experience been so far?
I am not a seasoned employee. I'm just here for about 1.5 years. I started working on February the 17th in 2020. So it hasn't been long, but it has been a really great experience. I guess a lot of the events that I would have been in charge of and would have overseen would have been curtailed because of COVID. So hopefully when things get back up, I would get a chance to do a lot more for the next year.
Okay, all right. So the world watched, Miss Lewis, with bated breath as the Soufrière volcano continuously erupted in April. Do you remember where you were at the time of the first eruption, and how would you describe that experience?
So this happened on a Friday. I was working from home on that Friday. It was April the 9th. I remember a few days before our utility companies were telling us to, save water, like they were telling us to save water, make sure that you have emergency supplies on hand and so on. And I think the Thursday before the eruption, the first eruption, I went and I bought one of those buckets with the covers to store water and a solar powered flashlight. And I came back into the office and my coworkers were laughing at me. But then eventually they decided to buy, some of those supplies as well, just to prepare. And it just so happened that the following day, which was the 9th, the volcano had its first eruption. Um, it wasn't at first it wasn't that evident because I didn't feel any of the earthquakes that people were talking about that was happening in the north. I didn't see any of the ash explosions until like the next day, which was this Saturday. So when I remember going outside on Saturday morning, and it was ashfall everywhere. You couldn't see past your hand. It looks like snow, like very, very dark snow. Everything was covered. And then these eruptions kept happening for a period of time after the first one. It was really surreal because I had never experienced something like that. And when you hear a volcano eruption, you are thinking, magma and fire explosion, that sort of thing. So to see ash, it was different. It was something different to experience. There was a lot of there was a lot of apprehension by a lot of people because it affected a lot of things. We had livestock. We have livestock being affected, people's houses, the vehicles, like everything was covered in ash. A lot of people did not experience something like this before, so they were very afraid of what was going to happen after.
Yeah, I think the word you used, surreal, that's what I thought every time I saw an eruption. I was like, is this really happening? So I can't imagine being in the country while it was happening. You people are indeed resilient and very brave. So what was the impact of the volcano eruption on telecommunications in St. Vincent and the Grenadines? Was it impacted?
Well, let me just first start to say, not only telecommunications, but there was an evacuation order issued when the alert level went to red. So a lot of persons were evacuated to shelters in the green zone, homes. There were persons who even took people in their private homes as well. In the northern parts of the island, there are still areas without water even to this day. Some of it is inaccessible by vehicle or by foot, so you still have to access it by boat. People had their homes destroyed, crops and livestock was destroyed, and because persons had to evacuate in such a short notice, they left behind a lot of stuff. So this is where the help from all the other islands and the other organizations really came in handy. In terms of the telecommunications, I remember I was without electricity for maybe a couple of hours each day. I don't think for like the first 3 or so days, I don't think the internet was affected that heavily. But in the northern part, there are still some areas who do not have electricity at all. They don't have internet. We had to even cease our connections of our subsidized programs because the technicians couldn't get to those areas. schools, the reopening of schools was delayed as well because of first COVID and then the volcano eruption. In addition to that, a lot of these shelters are actually schools. So with persons occupying them in an emergency capacity, we could not reopen schools face to face there. So that's how the volcano eruption really impacted us on a whole.
Oh, yeah. And I do know that ECTEL had, they came to the support of the NTRC with donations of water and many other entities.
We received a lot of help from all over. ECTEL donated about, I think, 48 cases of pallets of water to us. We distributed that to persons in need. We distributed to our staff, those who we could help. Grenada NTRC also donated some money to us. We used those to buy supplies for the shelters. St. Lucia as well donated, and Dominica, NTRC Dominica donated as well. So we bought supplies for the shelters. We distributed them to the shelters as well.
Is there still a need, would you say, for persons to continue donations? Would you say so?
I would say yes, but it's not as heavy as it was initially, because we still have persons who cannot return to their homes in the red zone, mostly because they are not accessible. And for those areas that are actually accessible, they still do not have maybe running water or electricity because of the ash. The areas are not completely cleaned, or they still have a lot of ash around, so they have to be cleaned first before you could put people back in those areas. And then the accessibility in areas like Fancy and Oya as well. It's hard for them to start the cleanup in those areas because, like I said, they can't access them by boat, by foot or by vehicle. You have to go by boat. So yes, there are still persons in shelters, so we do need some help still. But for the most part, the need has decreased a bit, I would say.
Okay, well, that's good to hear, and I'm hoping that persons who are listening and organizations who are listening, and they're in a position to come to St. Vincent's assistance, that they will do so, because we need to help each other. We never know when it's our turn. So I just like to put that out there. I was going to ask about how the island is coping in the aftermath, but you pretty much responded to that a while ago. So I won't bother to ask that question unless there's something else you wanted to add, or you covered everything.
We have returned to somewhat normalcy, but like I said, the red zone areas are still being affected. People are still not able to return to their homes, so they would need help rebuilding. Some homes were destroyed, crops, livestock destroyed. The cleanup part of it is still ongoing. We have persons volunteering to go in the areas to clean up. The government is also funding for persons to, like power wash areas, sweep up ash and, that sort of thing, rebuild houses and so on. So it's for the green zone, I could say everything has returned to normal, but the red zone is still being affected.
Okay, thanks for that comprehensive, review of what's happening there in St. Vincent as it pertains to the aftermath of the volcano. I was about to say hurricane because we're in that season, but the volcano. Okay, so what has the NTRC put in place to ensure that there are still opportunities or creating opportunities in ICT during the pandemic as well as after the eruption of the volcano?
Well, we started this program. We are actually funding short-term ICT courses. We started this in 2020, and it has been ongoing, and it will continue for about 5 years from the point of inception. So what we do is we allow persons to sign up for courses. They would have to research the courses, they choose what they want to do, and what we do is fund or pay for those courses once they are ICT related.
This is the Coursera and Code Academy, or that's something
right? Platforms that normally offer these types of courses would be Coursera, Udemy, and Codecademy. You could probably find them on other platforms, but these are the main platforms that people would normally use to apply for these type of courses.
Okay, so I'm just wondering who is eligible to apply and how should they go about applying if they're interested?
Okay, in terms of eligibility, basically once you're out of secondary school, you can apply for any of these courses. Some of the courses might ask for you to have different prerequisites, whether it be from a university level or advanced level, which is community college level. So you would have to have that required prerequisite in order to sign up for the course. So it depends on what you apply for as well. But generally, just the only requirement you should have is at least ordinary or CSEC level qualifications to apply for the courses.
And they just go to your website to apply? How could they get more information?
So it's strictly online. We have the sign-up sheet online on our website, which is www.ntrc.bc. You can go there, you can sign up for any course once it's short-term and it fits within the ICT bracket.
Okay. And how has this been going, Ms. Lewis? Are people flocking towards it, or you're not getting, a good enough response?
It started out pretty great. Initially, it started out, we had a lot of applications coming in, but going further into the program, the applications have dwindled a bit. I am not sure what the reason for that is. Maybe persons are not interested in what we are funding, because not a lot of persons are geared towards the information and communications part of learning. So I think that the responses have decreased a bit since we just started out. We would like to have some more applications or generate some more interest. So what we normally do is we have flyers posted online. We have had radio interviews to promote the programs. A lot of social media promotion as well is included. We also send out media releases to the newspapers and the radio stations, and we have enlisted the help of some of our local news outlets as well to spread the word on those. But we are still not seeing the response that we would like for these programs.
Okay, so just to give persons an opportunity who might be in St. Vincent, this is completely free, isn't it, Ms. Lewis?
Yes, it is fully funded. You can also apply for multiple courses. We just ask that you finish the first one before you apply for another one. So it's not, there's no limit as to how much you can apply for. It's just one at a time.
This is an amazing opportunity, and just to congratulate the NTRC for doing this. And I just pray and hope that persons, especially those who are not in a position to afford, university at this time, to take the opportunity and learn a new skill, learn something new, especially if it's at no cost to you. It's just your time, and you're going to gain so much more at the end of it. So congrats to the NTRC in St. Vincent for this initiative.
Yes. Thank you. It's also a great opportunity for those who might be unemployed, in between jobs at the moment. You could take the time out to just get a little bit of extra training. It would look good on your resume for when you do actually land a job.
Yes, that is true. All right, so the NTRC has subsidized internet programs to assist students who do not have internet access at home during the period of online schooling and distance learning. So tell us more about that project. How many students and from what level of education, have benefited, and how are they selected?
Okay, so we actually have two programs in this capacity. The first one is the subsidized internet, which is affectionately called the $10 internet. So what basically happens is that it's a project that is under the SMART Fund. So it's being funded by what we call the Universal Service Fund. This is one of the mandates as well of the NTRC's Telecommunications Act. And it was signed in 2020. So it would last for 5 years and it would be done in 2 phases. So what the aim of this project is essentially to connect 680 households that have been without access to internet previously. So we start with 340 last year, and now we are in the second phase with the remaining 340 households. And these households would pay $10 per month for the next 2 years for that internet service. One of the criteria is that you must not have had internet within the last 2 years. You have to have a student who is living in the household and access to a laptop or a tablet device in order to qualify for it. So that's the first program. And then sometime early up in the year, we did an assessment. We have about 107 schools registered. This includes primary and secondary schools. So we did an assessment and we found that there was about 2,900 students in St. Vincent and the Grenadines who do not have internet connection. So what we did was we created a second program, which is called the Internet for Tablet programs. So the government has started an initiative where they are distributing tablets to all students within the island. So the criteria for this program now is you sign up. Once you are a student and you have a tablet, your parent can sign up for this program for you, and it gives you 3 months of internet for your tablet via a SIM card, and you do not have to pay for this internet at all. So this was done to alleviate some of the strain on the online schooling. Because we had a lot of reports of students not attending classes because they do not have internet at home. So we tried to plug a hole in this shortcoming basically in terms of the telecommunication aspect. So that's the 2 programs that we have right now. It's for 3 months, but it has been going on since about April of this year. And it also came in handy as well for persons who were displaced, because then they were moving into areas where they had to share internet, or in some cases they didn't have access to the internet. So it was a good initiative to help in that aspect as well.
Yeah, indeed, very timely. And the same thing was happening here with, persons not going to school because they don't have access, not doing online classes, because they don't have access. So any program of that sort, and I believe the NTRC in St. Lucia had a similar project where they were giving out MiFi and devices. So kudos to the NTRCs for seeing that need. I was just wondering, has anything been put in place to ensure that students are unable to access inappropriate sites or don't spend excessively long periods on the internet?
Okay, well, the long and short of it is no. We have a limited control in that aspect because these students are basically using these devices in their private homes. So the onus is now on the parent or guardian or any adult figure in the household to monitor that student's usage. We do not have any such control over for these programs specifically. We do not have any such controls. The parents are just gonna have to, try to monitor that themselves. However, in terms of the free Wi-Fi that we provide in the schools, we do have control over those. So social media sites are banned, adult sites are banned as well. So for the schools, we have a bit more control over the content that you can access with the internet, but not in your private home, no.
Okay. Well, that's good that you have the control in the schools at least. So it starts with that. And as you rightfully said, the parents have a role to play. All right, so you have something exciting coming up for the summer. It's your 2021 My App Summer Program. Let's talk about that for a while. Who can participate? Where is it going to take place and the costs?
Okay, so this year we're going to be hosting the 6th annual My App Summer Program. Students from years 13 years old to 16 years old can participate. We have 2 programs this year. So we have one in Canawan, that's one of the Grenadines Islands. We have that going from the 16th of August to the 20th of August. And then we have one on mainland St. Vincent at the Spring Garden Resort from the 23rd of August to the 27th. Generally, this program would have ran for about 3 weeks, but because of the interruptions with school and so on, we decided to shorten it to 1 week this time. So the registration cost is $20 per student. It's from Monday to Friday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. daily. And we are basically going to be teaching the students how to code using a pocket-sized computer known as a microbit. And they will also touch a little bit on being introduced to robotics, where they can construct robots and then use their coding skills to code commands into the robots. So that's basically what our summer program focuses on. We are trying to encourage innovation amongst the youth and, just open their minds up to, that aspect of it being a career path in the future, perhaps. Or even some of them might go on to join our other competitions. We have an iCode 784 competition that goes on. You could also join that as well. You could do bigger things with it. It's just to get their feet wet, in a sense.
I was just wondering, you said it's been going on for 6 years. Do you take you make an effort to take a new batch of students at all the new sessions, or can you have repeaters, so to speak, because it's different topics?
I am not certain about the repeaters, because what we have done, what we have been trying to do is have it in a different area each year, so that we would normally focus on registering students from that particular area, so that each year we would have a different set of students, so to speak. So this year it's being focused on the Windward side in on the mainland, and then Canawan, because we've never had a program on Canawan. We've had it in the other Grenadines Islands before, Beckway, but not on Canawan.
Okay. All right. So have you reached your numbers, or you're still trying to get more students?
Registration period, the application period is still open. So we have not met our quota as yet. Hopefully, as exams wind down and the students realize, they don't have anything to do for the summer, they might take some more interest in that program that we have going on.
Okay, I'm not sure if it's possible, but if it's not, maybe you could send me the flyer and I could share it, yes. Or you could post a flyer under this talk here so we could assist you. Because these, I remember growing up, spending time at summer class camps and learning so much. So it's a really good opportunity. And at that cost, $20?
Yep. And also food is provided daily. Wow. So you have lunch provided for you every day. If that's not enough of an incentive, I don't know what else is.
So sign up, guys. $20 lunch provided. You cannot get better than that. Awesome. So you told us your website, but just repeat it and tell us where else persons could find you on social media.
Okay, so our main website, it's www.ntrc.bc. All of our programs, you can find forms there to sign up for any one of them. You can also find us on Instagram and on Facebook at NTRC SVG.
All right, awesome. Any closing words from you, Ms. Lewis?
No, I don't have any. I think we covered a lot today. I just want to encourage persons, to view this, the next segment that you're gonna have in August, the last Wednesday in August, is it? Right. So just want to encourage persons to view that session again. Thank you for viewing as well today. Thank you for your time. I do hope everybody has a great and enjoyable rest of the week.
Okay, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to have you.
It was a
You've been
pleasure
very
to be here.
accommodating. Thank you so much. And to be honest, this is the first person I'm speaking to recently about what has happened, because I was checking on my friends, but then, life happens. So it's good to hear what's happening more recently and not to forget so quickly that, you guys are still in need and we are here to support. So it was really good that you accepted this invitation to share, your work in spite of everything that has been happening in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
All right. So if you have any questions, just drop them in the comments below and I'm sure we'll, be happy to respond. So, and if you have a friend who you'd love to share this with, but they're not on Facebook, we also put it up on our YouTube page, which is ECTEL Authority, ECTEL, and it's also on Twitter, which is ECTEL Authority. So it's not only here on Facebook that you could watch our ECTEL Bytes, but it's also on other platforms. But before we wrap up, for those who might be interested in participating, please visit www.ectel.int and go to the consultation section to share your views on the ECTEL Regional Spectrum Management Plan. What's that? The radio frequency spectrum is an important but limited resource managed by ECTEL for the people of the ECTEL member states. The radio frequency spectrum provides a useful medium for the establishment of telecommunications and broadcasting services for the functioning and growth of the economies of the region. The ECTEL Regional Spectrum Management Plan is a regional plan and divides the ECTEL radio frequency spectrum into several frequency bands and designates the general purposes for which each frequency band may be utilized. So this process is referred to as the allocation of frequency bands to radio communication services. So if this is of interest to you, just visit our website, as I mentioned, www.ectel.int, and submit your feedback before the deadline on August 16th. And don't worry, we're going to have someone from ECTEL very soon on ECTEL Bytes breaking down what exactly spectrum means and all these technical terms. So we'll learn together. And if you haven't already done so, please follow us on social media. As I mentioned, we are on Instagram and Twitter at ECTEL Authority, and also on YouTube and Facebook at ECTEL. So do pop on over, follow us, and keep abreast of what's happening. And ECTEL Bytes is a production of the Eastern Caribbean Telecommunications Authority. And we will be live, as you heard, on Facebook every fourth Wednesday of every month from 2 p.m. EST. So make sure you join us on August 25th for episode 5. I'm your host, Coretta Cooks-Charles, ECTEL's Communications and Media Relations Manager. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, do keep safe and take care.